We are coming to you guys live from Radio Row here in New Orleans. Obviously, we got the Super Bowl happening on Sunday, this coming up. But until then, I will be boots on the ground here at Radio Row, doing what we can, getting what we can, 49ers related. But in the meantime, today has been a big day because there is a lot of kind of conversation that has been generated surrounding uh, Myles Garrett potentially being a trade candidate for the San Francisco 49ers, maybe someone that they can go and get. Not only that, we have Deommodore Lenoir actively recruiting Myles Garrett as we speak. I don't know. Could you see it? Could you see Myles Garrett with the San Francisco 49ers in 2025 and beyond? I don't know. We're going to talk about those things right now, but you guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat, smash that like button, and let's get into it right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize in advance if the connection starts to get crazy, the McDonald's Wi-Fi starts to act up, but we're working off the Wi-Fi here at the convention, so we'll see how it goes. But man, oh man, today has been an eventful day, to say the least. Right before we were getting ready to get on, we had Deommodore Lenoir recruiting Myles Garrett. Now let's back up a little bit. Earlier today, right at the beginning of the morning, news broke that Myles Garrett he requested a trade. He put out an official statement, everything. It seems to be the end for Myles Garrett and the Browns. Obviously, for a player of Myles Garrett's caliber, he is looking to win a Super Bowl. He is looking to compete, and as it stands right now, the Cleveland Browns are not in that mode. They are not in a position to compete. Their starting quarterback just re-ruptured his Achilles, and it's going to be very interesting to see where they go from here. But it does sound like they could be heading into a bit of a reset mode, which means players could be leaving. We heard a rumor that Joel Bitonio, one of their star offensive linemen, could potentially retire if they decide to go in a rebuild mode. So it sounds like the wheels are falling off in Cleveland. But as a result of that, someone's going to need to be there to be able to pick up some of those pieces. And it sounds like some of those pieces could be picked up by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Tim Kawakami of the SF Standard was talking about this throughout the day. He had mentioned that, I think in a previous podcast that he was doing, that he had heard that the 49ers will be making calls for a potential star edge rusher. Now, he wasn't even thinking of Myles Garrett as being a potential option. He was thinking elsewhere, maybe Max Crosby. Raiders, we saw Deommodore Lenoir go after Max Crosby earlier, maybe a week or two ago. So we are recruiting inside, hinting at the fact San Francisco be absolutely aggressive in terms of going out and trying to find someone who can contribute and can contribute at a high level. So we'll see how it goes. And again, I apologize in advance for the All right, I think I'm back. I apologize. The Wi-Fi is terrible here. I think it just kicked me out of my own stream. So I won't be surprised if I get booted again. Wi-Fi here, not very good, but we'll do our best to get through this one. I apologize again in advance. We brought the McDonald's Wi-Fi with us to New Orleans. We're going to do our best to get through it. And I know it's not the ideal situation here, but let's get back to it. So, bottom line is it does sound like the San Francisco 49ers could be competitive, at least in regards to the potential chance of adding some key players. And I think for 49er fans, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see players being added on the defensive side. All right, hopefully that's better with the audio. All right, we're doing our best here. Hopefully we'll be in much better shape for the Santa Clara Super Bowl that will be happening next year. But in regards to where the 49ers sit in a roster construction standpoint, we know and we've identified the 49ers need two interior defensive tackles. They probably need an edge of the future. Leonard Floyd, only under contract for one more year. After that, we'll see. But he did get 8 sacks last year. But I do think the 49ers still need more juice coming off the edge, specifically speed. So we know they need still reinforcements on the defensive line. Right now, they currently only have 3 linebackers under contract: Fred Warner, D. Ford, and Tatum Bethune. So linebacker depth. Will they bring back Dre Greenlaw? We heard, according to Nick Bosa, that Robert Saleh is very adamant about re-signing Dre Greenlaw to a contract, which would be fantastic. And we talked about that and what that could potentially look like. It might be in Dre Greenlaw's best interest to return to the San Francisco 49ers to be able to sign, I would say, like a 1-year deal, maybe incentive-based. So that way he has the opportunity to still earn in that 1 year. But you give him the opportunity to prove that he can stay healthy for 17 games. And then, did I say D. Ford? I got Edge on my mind. I meant D. Winters. But you could hopefully convince Greenlaw to come back under Robert Saleh for 1 season, ball out, and then turn that into a lucrative contract, whether with the San Francisco 49ers or with another team. So hopefully that's the case. Anyways, there's a lot of holes to fill. They need another cornerback, potential safety. But, man, if you can really get your hands on an elite edge rusher, I don't care if it's Myles Garrett, I don't care if it's Max Crosby, just someone on the opposite side of Nick Bosa that can truly get after the quarterback, that would be the best case scenario for the 49ers offense, for the team in general. Because I think one thing that was lacking from last year was complementary football. So, man, we really, really want to see that come back. And I think getting Robert Saleh is a great head start, but now would love to really see how they build this roster and retool it. And, man, they need it. They need it for sure. Now let's talk about what it might take to be able to trade for a guy like Myles Garrett. Let's go through the hypothetical situation. Prapa with the super chat is saying trade Ayuk, Debo, and a first for Myles, sign T. Higgins. Well, I don't think trading Brandon Ayuk would be the smart move. The 49ers have paid BA To me, it would be a massive loss to pay Brandon what you paid him and then get, I think, what was it? It's probably around 5 games, and then trade that, take on the dead cap hit. And so Ayuk, to me, is a non-starter. And Johnny makes a great point. He has to be able to pass physical. So Ayuk can't even be a part of the trade conversations, even if you wanted to. But in my opinion, I do believe that Debo could potentially be thrown around in those conversations. We know he was discussed last year in trade conversations around the draft. So maybe that could be an option. But I do think at minimum, number 11 will be in play. And remember, the 49ers did trade DeForest Buckner for pick 13 straight up in the prime of Buckner's career. Now, the Colts did have to also pay him to a contract extension, so that also plays a role in that. But I do think that if you get pick 11 and maybe a day 2, day 3 pick, or maybe pick 11 and a player, you might be able to get your hands on Myles Garrett. So it'll be fascinating to see. I do expect the 49ers to be aggressive. I do. I think that with the way last year ended and not wanting to be in that rut again, I think that they will be able to go all in and to be able to restock the cupboards with some elite talent. At least that's what my hope is. At least that's what I am looking for. And again, like I mentioned, as you can see, I'm on Radio Row here in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl will be literally in the 49ers' backyard. They will be playing at Levi Stadium, and I'm sure that organization would love nothing more than to be in that position in Santa Clara playing at Levi Stadium to finally get that 6th ring. So I don't think they're that far away. There are moves that need to be made. There are some probably out of the box moves that maybe we haven't even thought about or discussed, whether that's getting just quality depth at certain positions, but also some cornerstone stars would also be awesome. Um, I have a former, I think he's a former general manager sitting right across from me right now. So the former general manager of the Falcons, Thomas Dimitrioff, is sitting right in front of me to give you an idea of what it's like here on Radio Row. So there's going to be a lot of action around here. Today is setup day for everyone. So tomorrow we're going to have opening night. I'm actually going to be heading over to the Superdome right after this for opening night, all the interviews, all that stuff. So we'll be busy. But I do hope the 49ers are busy as well when it comes to making moves. I know T. Higgins has been a name that's been floated around the 49ers. I don't know if there are other moves that I'd rather make. I would rather allocate funds and assets elsewhere, and that is coming from someone who I love. T. Higgins. T. Higgins was a guy that I loved coming out of the draft. He was a guy that I've been a fan of ever since he's been with the Bengals. I love T. Higgins, but I would prefer going big on defensive tackle, big on defensive end, big on safety potentially. If you get like a Javon Holland, a guy like that, I would rather go big on defense and supplement the wide receiver room with like up and coming potential prospects or mid-level talent that can produce. Because unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think that the 49ers, at least the way the offensive has been built, I don't think that they are a kind of a traditional, passing downfield type offense. Now, obviously, having T. Higgins opens up a lot of things. If you have Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel and Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle, yeah, it's fantastic. But honestly, I would love to see the 49ers spend their capital, their assets on offensive line, defensive line, and let's build that way. The 49ers, we know that they have been very um, steadfast at building the defensive line, and obviously they've poured assets into there, and it hasn't worked out with guys like Javon Hargrave, and they had to get rid of Eric Armstead, and they tried to get Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos. But I think you keep going back to the well and you keep trying to solidify your defensive line. I would love to see them upgrade at right guard and center. And I would much prefer dropping all your resources into those positions opposed to getting T. Higgins. That's just my opinion of where I sit with that. Vish says, I definitely see us going after Myles, since in 2019 we got Ford and Bosa with Saleh. Also, Lombardi says Myles would be $5 to $6 million a year. It's a good deal. Yeah, I heard Lombardi talking about how the cap hit would not be very large, so it actually makes sense. Sometimes we throw these trade ideas around, or we talk about signing T. Higgins, but we don't talk about the fact that T. Higgins will probably be a $30 million a year wide receiver, if not more. And like I was just saying, I don't know if that makes the most sense to pour those resources there. I love the player, but I would much rather go for something that makes sense on and off the field. And Myles Garrett paired up with Nick Bosa would give opposing quarterbacks nightmares. Absolute nightmares. So that's kind of where I am at in that regard. So, and also it's important to keep in mind when in regards to what Bish is saying, don't forget John Lynch was very aggressive in trying to trade for Khalil Mack when he was on the Raiders. So, and John Lynch has publicly spoken about how he believes that they had offered the better deal to the Raiders for Khalil Mack. So, and that was when Khalil was in his prime before he had got traded to the Chicago Bears. So, and I mentioned this on a video that I just made, but from people that I trust, the 49ers also called on Brian Burns last year. So to me, they are definitely going to pick up the phone, and they are going to at minimum see what it takes. So not everything's going to work out. Like some of the deals that are going on behind the scenes, we may never even hear of them because they don't come to fruition. But that doesn't mean teams aren't trying. That doesn't mean phone calls aren't being made and that value isn't being gauged. So I think that out of any year, it feels like this is a good year to put your chips into the center and rebuild this defense, retool the offensive line, and get healthy, get Christian McCaffrey back, Hopefully get guys like Dre Greenlaw back, add a cornerback, add a safety, whether it's re-signing Talanoa Hufanga, whether it's going big in free agency, doing something. I think that the 49ers aren't not that far away from being right back into the mix. But there's moves that need to be made. It's not a foregone conclusion that it's just going to happen. They got some work to do. So I'm really excited to see what the 49ers do. And I think that's why this offseason is such an exciting offseason. They have a first round draft pick at pick 11. They have some cap space. They have abilities to create more cap space. So although the extension stuff can get kind of annoying to have to talk about and have to track and follow, it is what it is, and it's going to be a part of the conversation as long as we're talking 49ers football. But we do know the other aspects and the other elements, which is free agency and the draft. And there are some really exciting potentials with everything. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what is going down and what the 49ers are going to be doing. D-Buck says, doesn't Kyle have deep connections with the Browns organization? I wouldn't say deep connections. I'm trying to think who their general manager is right now. Who's the Browns GM? I think there might be a little crossover with Stefanski. Andrew Berry is the GM for the Cleveland Browns. And I don't see any crossover with him. Andrew Berry came up in this Colts scouting department. He's been with the Browns, did a stint with the Eagles, and then was back as the Browns general manager. So I like what Mike's saying. He says Niners have always balanced winning now with the future, which they have, and they've done a good job at that for the most part. But he says, I believe this is the year with this core that we go all in. I agree. But back to kind of what D-Buck was saying, appreciate the super chat, D-Buck. I don't think it matters about having a super deep connection. I think it matters about also just having the right package, having the right trade compensation to be able to acquire a certain player. So, yes, does it help to have buddies across the league? Of course it does. But I think it also helps when you have the right trade compensation that you can offer for a player like that, and the player wants to play for an organization like the San Francisco 49ers with a DC like Robert Saleh. It feels like the 49ers are a pretty attractive destination right now. A bit of a reset is in order. Things are going to change. You get a solid coach to come back in to be the DC. So I think there's absolutely opportunity here for some things to happen. So we'll see. But again, shout out to D-Buck. Appreciate the super chat. Shout out to everyone who sent a super chat. Vish, Prapa, appreciate you guys. So what are some other names? Do you guys have any other, like, if we're thinking pie in the sky trades, a little bit of fantasy land stuff, what other defensive ends or edge players would make sense for you in a trade to the 49ers? I want to see what other names you guys throw out. You know, it would be fun to say, TJ Watt, right? Right on cue. We did. We saw Lynch and Tomlin chopping it up for a good portion of the Senior Bowl practices. Were they talking about sending TJ Watt over? I don't know. Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is getting up there in age. I still think he's a quality player. Um, I might want to go somewhere else, but at the right price, I would be interested in Khalil Mack. I mean, it does sound like there could be a potential chance that Max Crosby might be available at least for a conversation, because we do know he's entering the portion of his contract where he is out of guaranteed money. So he needs a new deal. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that if you are trading for Max Crosby, you will likely have to sign him to a contract extension, which is maybe in the range of 30 million per year on average. But like I said, if you're spending that type of money, I want to spend it on an edge. I'm not spending it on a wide receiver. With all due respect to wide receivers, I can't do it. We already got one in Brandon Ayuk. I expect Brandon Ayuk to be back and healthy and ready to go. So I expect Ricky Pearsall to take strides in year two. Jawan Jennings, we know he's reliable as anyone. So if you're going to spend big money, spend it on defensive line, spend it on the edge position. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Joey Bosa, definitely. I could see that. Joey Bosa seems like a logical option. Similar situation with Khalil Mack, getting up there. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't say no to it. So that could absolutely be an option. Let's see here. Does Ojolari still make sense? Yeah, I do. I don't think he is the premier edge rusher. He is I would say, mid-tier, high upside edge rusher. So I don't think he's going to demand crazy money. You could probably get him for a relatively good contract, and he has high upside. So he could be a guy that you get into your system, and all of a sudden you're looking around, you're like, oh, this is a 10 sack plus kind of a player on the opposite side of Nick Bosa, especially if, let's say, you draft like a Walter Nolan at pick 11. So you go explosive 3 tech, you get Azeez Ojolari to pair with Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos. Yetur Gross-Matos can work more into that Charles Omenihu role, being healthy. That might be the most realistic option, to go Azeez Ojolari. If we're being honest, um, without having to like overextend, but Dahlman should be a priority. I agree. I think that makes the most sense at center, to be able to get a veteran guy, who fits your system. He's one of the top guys in the league, and he's plug and play. He's ready to go. He's an instant upgrade at center. So yeah, Dahlman is. I think that's one free agent that I think is unanimous amongst 49ers media, 49ers content creators, and 49ers fans. I think everyone wants Drew Dahlman from the Falcons. Micah Parsons, maybe, highly doubtful, but you never know. Bosa, Bosa has 1 year left on his contract. That's an interesting one. I feel like the 49ers could have signed Clowney over a couple years now, and they have chosen not to. So I don't know about that. Let's see. I'm just going through some of your guys' comments right now. Could we look into Justin Simmons as a Huff replacement? I like Justin Simmons. I think Justin Simmons has been one of the more underrated safeties in the league throughout his time. I don't know what his contract situation looks like currently. I believe he's with the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken, but I also believe he had a hell of a year with the Falcons. So that would be an interesting one. That would take me doing a little bit more digging, but he might be in for a big payday. DJ Jones, defensive tackle, drafted top edge at 11. That could absolutely be an option. Time to fleece the Browns. I'm down. Oh, boy. What about Penei Sewell or Quinn Miners? I mean, two players that I absolutely love, and I'm sure the San Francisco 49ers would do whatever they could to get their hands on Penei Sewell or Quinn Miners. But Quinn Miners just signed a massive contract extension heading into this season. He's coming off a first-team All-Pro type of year. He's one of the best interior guards in the entire NFL right now. So I think the Denver Broncos would be crazy to trade him. 49ers had the opportunity to draft him. You know, shout out to Quinn Miners, friend of the channel. He was actually the first player to ever come on my YouTube channel and do an interview. Love Quinn, but they opted to go Aaron Banks over Quinn Miners. Drafted Banks in the second round. Quinn Miners went in the third round in the same draft. In regards to Penei Sewell, I think same thing applies. I think you would literally have a better chance of trading for Dan Campbell's kneecaps opposed to trading for Penei Sewell. That's kind of how I feel. Um, I don't think Penei would that feels like ring ring. Hey, what's the price on Penei Sewell? Click. I don't feel like they would be looking to trade him at all, unfortunately. But two great players, two studs that any team would want on their roster. Um, Vish says, I think it's Ashton Davis and Jermaine Sherwood that are going to follow Saleh. Potentially. Let's see. For the 49ers, who's going to get the franchise tag? I don't see the 49ers franchise tagging anyone. Franchise tag is kind of frowned upon. So I don't know. I don't really see that. Do we have 12 draft picks? From my understanding, we have 5. We have 6. And then I think we're getting 4 compensatory draft picks. I don't think the compensatory picks have been officially announced yet. Does DJ Reed come back? I think if he came back, it would have to be on a bit of a cheaper deal. We'll see, but I don't necessarily anticipate that just because I think he'll be pricey. Is the way that I'm looking at it. So we'll see. But if you got last couple questions, feel free to get them in. I got to get ready to head over to the Superdome for opening night. That's where they introduce the players and open them up for media availability. So I'll be heading over there. Do Kittle and CMC get extensions after this year? I would think Kittle might get an extension this offseason. I don't know about CMC because he just got paid. Is there more optimism in resign? Yeah, I would say so. I feel like the ace in the hole was Robert Saleh, because if there's anyone to incentivize, because I think the dilemma is, I don't know if the 49ers can justify paying Dre Greenlaw the contract that he wants. They might be willing to pay him a contract that is more incentive-based, short-term potentially. And I think the fact that you could sell, like, dude, your guy's coming back, Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is going to put you in the best position to be successful, to make plays, and make sure you get the next contract or the big contract the following year. So to me, that's how you sell it. You sell it as, hey, man, we got your guy. We got Saleh. And Saleh is going to put you in the best spot to be successful. I don't think you could sell that with Wilkes or Sorensen, but you can absolutely sell that with Saleh. So I do think it's, and I think everyone wants him back. I just think it's, again, having to make it all work financially for everyone. So we'll see how that goes. No, we haven't done anything with the OC yet. So I have not heard anything officially in regards to who the official offensive coordinator will be for the 49ers. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Is Buckner realistic? I think that's a good question. I'm not positive. I have to look at – he's a free agent, right? Is he an unrestricted free agent? If he is, I think that would make it the most realistic option. But I don't know if there's bad blood there. I don't know what that looks like, or if he would be willing to return. Because I would have to imagine – I don't know if the 49ers would be willing to pay him like he'd probably be looking for. So we'll see. We'll see. But I appreciate everyone for tapping in. I really don't know what my schedule is going to look like kind of throughout the week, but I'm going to try to go live every day. If I run into any 49ers players, I'm going to try to interview them and try to get you guys some more content. I do imagine we'll see some 49ers players walking around here. So we'll see what we get. But again, shout out to everyone for tapping in. I got to head over to opening night now. Drop your cookies. Get your cookies on the way out. And we'll be back to talk more 49ers football. And, hey, the Wi-Fi didn't completely crap out on us there at the end. So shout out to you guys. I'm out. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.